Appreciate the little things in life. One of the reasons why you are so depressed or stay depressed often, it is because you focus more on your issues and not on the good things that God has given you. And yes, I believe God has given us, whether you are a sinner or a Christian, God has given us all good things. Your house may have caught on fire. You can focus on those things. I may not wear the best shoes. Hey, at least, I don't have like a huge hole in my shoes. Stop focusing on what is happening to you per se and focus on the good, which I believe we all have in our lives. Why in the world do I want to be depressed, sad, angry, bitter, hateful, and stuff like that?
In the Bible, it always commands us to be happy. Let's be honest, when a Bible-believing Christian, he's going through life, and then when he goes through life, there's so many different attacks. Acts chapter 26, verse 2. You won't be depressed unless you think you're depressed, unless you think that you have it hard, unless you think that everything's wrong with you. And you gotta realize this, Paul was in prison for 1 to 2 years. You think he's happy? But he says, I think myself happy. You're actually too lazy to stop for a moment and then just sit down and think about all the good things God's been good to you with. No wonder you're gonna get sad unless you take time to stop and go away and use your head and think on what God has been good to you. Think on what could have happened to you if you never stayed in the promises of God. Think how God's gonna work it for good. And think about that, what the verses say in the Bible. You need to turn to the promises of God. And God's promises are all over. Your problem is that the reason why you don't have joy unspeakable is you don't look toward how God's going to use the trial. People get $1 billion, they worry about losing the money. You can't worry about losing your salvation. You can't worry about God providing your needs, God taking care of you. All things work together for good. Your reward's up in heaven, and then dump all the worries at Jesus' feet. You can't. Not only God using the trial, but because there's one thing you gotta be excited about, His coming. When He comes down, He gives you your reward. Heaven is even closer in your grasp. And when you get heaven, game over. No more sorrow, no more depression. Take time to be holy, as one hymn says. Sit down, ponder, and meditate a bit. Let's assume I'm wrong about everything, and you had every reason to be depressed and sad. Then go ahead, remain depressed and sad. Because I promise you this, when you go to heaven, you'll never feel depressed and sad again.